getting a massage here or there, getting a facial, or having that time out, and not to have the mom guilt that, oh, I'm leaving my child. Because if we do not take care of ourselves, how can we take care of our children?
Welcome to Transforming the Toddler Years, a Core 4 parenting podcast for conscious, cycle-breaking parents ready to turn toddler tantrums into teachable moments. Hi, I'm Cara Tyrrell, a lifetime lover of littles, mom to 2 grown and flown girls, and an early childhood educator. Through the show, I teach you my collaborative parenting methodology for nurturing your little human's mind, body, and spirit. Because how you connect and collaborate in the first 5 years is how you raise happy, healthy kids who grow into the best version of themselves and find true success in school and life. My guest today is Jayne, and I did not realize this before I interviewed her, but we're essentially the same person leading the same life. What a beautiful interview. And there's depths to her and her story I didn't even know. She is an author, a podcaster, and an early childhood expert who's been in the field for nearly 30 years, teaching, owning, and operating preschools. Her mission is to provide high-quality childcare with love at the center. She's the author of the book, The ABCs of Preschool, and is here to share with you the 4 things that you need to look for to pick the just right preschool for your kiddo. Amber, thank you so much for being here and bringing your expertise in high quality preschool and childcare to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here, and I can't wait to share everything I've learned.
So when I first saw your information come through my email, I was like, oh, this is someone I have to have on the show, not just because you have such a wide breadth of knowledge, nearly 3 decades in this field, but also because I felt like I was reading my bio.
I love that.
It was wonderful how we just immediately jived. And so let's get right into it. Preschool, the toddler years, those big learning years. Why are they so important to you, and that you've devoted your heart mission and all of your skill development to it over 30 years?
I think it's so important because they're so magical. Those years I like to refer as magical. As a mama, as an educator, those years are really hard as well. But they're magical. The amount of growth that happens between 0 and 5, it's hard to see that ever again in a child's life. And they're little sponges. Like, everything is new, everything is exciting and love, and they just don't see color. They don't see anything but love and beauty. And if we can only, as adults, keep that perspective, through our life, I think that's why I fell in love with it. I just believe so much our little ones are so much capable of more than we can even imagine. But I love making impact. Like, I love loving on kids. Like, that's my goal. And my staff's goal is really meeting kids where they are and just as they are. So that's just a little bit of why I know I've been doing this almost 30 years. Like, I'm dating myself. And I have 4 kids of my own, and it's just in my blood. Like, I probably will always do this. Yeah.
Oh, so good. I hear you that it overlaps, right? This idea that what you do at work and how you inspire and lead your team and how you engage with your kids at home. And because you have significantly older kids, how you will someday engage with their partners and your grandkids. It's all the same. It's that lead with love, but add the structure so that everybody can learn from inside the experience. Just so beautiful. Hey, Mama, did you know there are 5 skills that your child needs to practice to be truly ready to go to school, to be a good friend, a good student, and develop a lifelong love of learning? And spoiler alert, they are not ABCs, 1, 2, 3s, colors, or numbers. Are you enrolling your child in a twos program or a preschool for the first time? Are they already there going to daycare or preschool? And the teachers are saying that they're, quote, struggling, maybe even sending home some incident reports. Take my Pandemic Moms School Readiness mini course. It's 8 short lessons with huge daily impact. The link is in the show notes. And if you DM me on Instagram, I'll give you a cool promo code for 50% off. You are raising world-ready kids who will change the world. And that means that they need to be school-ready as well. Once they are not with you all the time, that's where they're going to spend the majority of their time. Learn the 5 executive functioning skills they need for success in school and life with my mini course. So how old were you when you started teaching preschool?
I started teaching when I was 19 years old. I started in the 2-year-old class, my first preschool I worked at. I loved it. I got married really young. So I got married at 19. I didn't go the college path. I got the units for early childhood development. And I just kind of stumbled into it. My mom was a preschool teacher. And it's so funny, that was never on my radar at all. But I loved it. I fell in love with it. I loved having my own class. I loved sharing my passion for kids. I've always loved kids. I was that neighborhood babysitter that would make the flyer. And at 10 years old, I was like babysitting all the neighborhood kids. So I always knew I wanted to be a mom, and I knew I wanted to be a teacher in some capacity. I thought maybe a kindergarten teacher, but my life direction, that just wasn't in the cards for me. And so I kind of fell into it. And I loved it so much. And so even at 19, I started like really observing what I really liked from management, what I didn't like. I eventually worked at 3 different schools. 2 were really not great experiences, and 1 was a phenomenal experience. And I learned a lot from that director. So I started my own preschool when I was 23. I had my first son at 22, and I thought I was going to be a stay-at-home mom. That's what I had envisioned for my life. I was just going to be with the apron and making the cookies, and everybody has their own path, right? And everybody has their own journey. And I was so focused on I was going to be this full-time stay-at-home mom. But 4 months in, I just was feeling like there was something more I wanted to do. And that's where Loving Start Learning Centers was born. I really scratched it on a piece of paper, and I thought I can open a preschool in my home. And so that's what I did. And I say I'm a mom turned CEO, and it just took off from there. And it's been such a gift because I have been able to be there for all of my kids, all of their games, super active. And I floated in and out of the business. If I was nursing, I'd have someone come help me. So it's just been a really great, as my kids have grown, so has the business. And it's been a beautiful thing.
Oh my gosh. You know how they say there's people in life that are your doppelganger and they look just like you somewhere in the world? We are path doppelgangers.
Really?
Everything you just said. Yes, yes, and yes. Babysitter's Club out of my house. Yes, except I was the only employee. And then when we had our first, I really wanted to stay home. And so I opened my own childcare space. And here's what happened for me, though. It sounds like you managed it far better than I did. About a year in, I realized that I was prioritizing every other child's needs over my own when the initial motivation for opening the center was to be home with my kid. And so that's when I said, you know what? I need to make a different decision because she was my priority.
Yeah, no, I get that. And I think when a lot of people open from their home, they end up working 12 hours a day. And the third preschool I worked at when I was, I guess, 21, because I was pregnant, I'm 22. It was part-time. So it was like Monday, Wednesday, Friday classes. Tuesday, Thursday classes. So there was morning and afternoon. So I ran for 9 years, very part-time. I'd have a Monday, Wednesday, Friday morning class and a Tuesday, Thursday. And we ended at 2:30 every day. So that 3 o'clock pickup with the kids. And I've grown over the years as I've grown commercial. My schools now are full time, but I have staff. But I can see that happening. I see it with at my sister-in-law's doing the same thing, and it's hard to maintain that. I think, right, as juggling a mom and then running your own childcare in your home, those long hours, it's a lot.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
So this is fascinating because we have listeners who have been so directly impacted by the pandemic and realized, oh, I actually do want to be with my kids more, but still follow my passions, still follow that impact-driven heart that I have. And so they're starting online companies and doing a little bit of both. And this leadership piece that you keep talking about, clearly, you're naturally an intuitive, gifted human when it comes to connecting with and supporting kids. What did you need to do for yourself in order to say, I am capable of running a company and being a great mom?
Originally, I struggled with perfectionism. So I wasn't good at the beginning. I was a good leader. I didn't even know what the word entrepreneur was. So I wasn't raised in a home where college was a focus or we could start our own business. Like that wasn't even on my radar. So at the beginning, I just knew I wanted to financially provide. So I was a good leader and I knew what I wanted with my business and even marketing. Like I started to learn all that. And I was so focused and dedicated with my kids. But I will be very honest, at the beginning, for many years, I had a very difficult marriage. So my coping mechanism was to be busy, to stay busy. And there was so many blurred lines, right? Like when you're learning how to run your own business or to be a leader and you're juggling momhood and business, like I wanted my business to be perfect. I wanted my kids to be perfect. And in reality, we are not perfect, right? And so at the beginning, I think I took on the perfectionism and that false thinking that I could be perfect, and it caused a lot of stress in my life. So I do not recommend that. I think as moms and as leaders, we need to focus on self-care a lot. And it took me many years to recognize that my coping mechanism for a very stressful, unhealthy marriage that I finally left caused me to be busy. And love, and my idea of love was that pat on the back. Oh, you're a mom of four. You run your own business. How do you do it? That's so amazing. That fed my soul, but yet I kept all the stress. And I ended up getting cancer at 31. I got breast cancer at 31. So at the beginning, I didn't manage it very great because I was always going. I was at every soccer game, every baseball game. I was the team mom. I was the volunteer at school. Like I did all this stuff because in my world, that's how I was great. When in reality, we are enough just as we are. So I had to learn, and through the cancer especially really woke me up and realized, okay, I gotta like set some boundaries and have like the healthy people in my life. I'm all about boundaries, and to be a good leader, we need them. We need to be a good mom, to be a good parent. It's okay for self-care. Getting a massage here or there, getting a facial, or having that time out, and not to have the mom guilt that, oh, I'm leaving my child. Because if we do not take care of ourselves, how can we take care of our children? So I wasn't great at first, but then now I've really learned, and I have like the most amazing team. And my philosophy with business is team first, truly, and then everything will fall into place. So my team comes number one, and then it trickles down because they love their job. So I had to learn the hard way, and I don't want other people to learn the hard way.
Amber, oh, first of all, thank you for being so open and vulnerable. That's what this show is all about, because parenthood is that. if we can't be honest with ourselves and real and raw, then we aren't going to make the headway that we want as parents and raise kids who can do the same. And I have to ask, you're healthy, you're cancer free, right?
Yeah, I celebrated March 11th. This year was 15 years,
Oh,
like 15 years. And I think that's why I'm on this mission too right now of I just want to help so many other people live intentionally, because it wasn't until my 5-year cancer anniversary when my doctors were like, well, you're good, like go live your life. And I remember thinking, I don't know if I can do another 5 years living this life. That's probably another podcast, but I was really wearing a mask for a really long time and pretending that I had everything perfect where behind the scenes it wasn't perfect. So I am super passionate about living intentionally. It's been 15 years. I'm not sure why I'm still here and so many other people are not, right? Like sometimes I think that because I was 31 and I had brain surgery a year and a half ago, another whole story, but I'm here. And if you're here, if we're here, it's for a reason, right? It's purpose driven. And it's such a gift, like to move our body, to go on walks, like everything is such a gift. And I do not take that lightly. Like I just feel it so much in my soul. And I think that's why I'm really on a mission now to like help other people. Like if they're struggling in their schools or if they're struggling with things like that hamster wheel that we all fall on, to try to get off, and stop and smell the roses because life is too short. It is too short. So
you are such a gift. And this life is too short. It affects to us as adults. We have to constantly remind ourselves this moment matters and it's important. But you started this conversation by saying that the first 5 years of a child's life are really like a blink. They're very short. 85% of foundational brain growth, the size of that child's brain, is done growing in those first 5 years. And so this gift that you have, that you are sharing with the world, is how to create or find really high quality childcare and preschool settings for your kids so that they're doing the best they can to learn and grow on time. And I want to hear so much more about that. I will say, just as a preface, finding childcare, period, is really, really hard right now nationwide. Finding high quality childcare, I'm not sure there's words to describe how challenging that is. So what do parents need to look for when they go visit these centers or these home-based locations to know their children are going to be loved and taught well?
I refer to it as the 4 senses rule. And I know we have 5 senses, but I narrow in on 4. So when you are touring or looking at a school, whether that's home-based or a commercial building, you want to think about your senses. And the first thing is sight. How does the school look? Is it clean? Is it organized? How are like the paint colors on the wall? Is it like super overstimulating? Is it cluttery? Is things just stacked up like all over the place? So sight is a really big one, like the first impression in sight. So you want to find a school that's clean and organized, because if you're walking into a place that's super cluttery, very unorganized and dirty, you have to think about what's going on. If that's what you can see, what's happening when you cannot see. And I'm talking like safety issues. How are they training staff? They're not putting that focus in if you walk in and it just looks bad. Second is smell. How does the school smell? And I mean, I've been in this business for a long time and I get it. There's lots of smells that come from children, but a high quality center is going to smell really good. Like my girls know it. Like we have essential oils. It almost smells like a spa, because we want you to come in and walk in and feel like you're almost at home, like a second home. Sound. How does the school sound when you're walking in? Are there just a ton of screaming children? There are going to be days give everybody grace. Sometimes you have a newbie starting and that one is having a really hard time, or there may be a baby that's, having a hard time. But mostly you should walk in and you should hear laughing. You should hear the teachers engaged. We like to have music in our classrooms. There's music playing. Like, how does it sound? And then the last thing, how does the school make you feel? I always say go with your intuition, and you should have the warm fuzzies when you walk in. You should just know like this is the place for your child. And like you said, it is really hard to find care. So I always recommend people, if you're pregnant, start looking, because if there's an infant center, it takes a long time. I mean, even my school could take 9 to 10 months to get in for infant care. And then for preschool, a lot of people don't realize if you want to start your child maybe at 2, even part-time, a lot of schools enroll the year before. So like we just did our enrollment January to February for next year. So a lot of people might not know that. So it's definitely good to look early for a school and to tour. And I think lastly, what I wanted to say too is, especially if you're a parent of multiples, one school may have worked great for one of your children, while that same school might not be the school for another child. And a lot of parents maybe think they have the it school that they want to get into, and it may not be the right school though for your child. So I think it's really important to know your child. And are they really scared? Are they nervous? Are they really shy? They might need like a really small class environment. If they're super outgoing and they just love to meet people, they may be fine in a really bigger environment. So I think it's really important to let go of the outside expectations and I have to get into this school because this is the school everybody's going to, because that just might not work for your child.
Wow, you just dropped a whole lot for us to think about. But that last point is so important. We talk a lot about child-led learning. We talk a lot about conscious and being conscientious as parents, looking at who our kids are instead of what we want them to accomplish.
Yes.
And you just embodied that in, just because this school is going to give you a deep discount because it's your third kid to come through, is it right for your child?
Yeah, I remember I have 4 and 2 did really, really well in traditional school, elementary school. And then my last 2 really struggled. Even had to take them, my last 2 out. I was driving to 3 different schools at one point. Like I think my commute was like 3 hours a day, but it's what my daughter needed, and recognizing that. And as a mom, looking back now that all my kids are grown, my youngest is almost 18. And I've got one of my kids talking about maybe, he wants kids. So I'm entering the whole maybe be a grandma in the next couple of years, which is exciting. But I regret and I wish I would have listened to my intuition way sooner with my children, a couple of them, and remove them from traditional school faster because it didn't serve them well. And it's okay to do that. And honestly, in the long run, it's going to be so much better for your kids. So.
Yeah, I have an episode about this, and my listeners know that for our older, I ended up homeschooling her for first and second grade to be able to support her to grow the skills she needed to be successful in a classroom, because she just wasn't there. She had social anxiety, lots of struggles with small and large group, and her emotional regulation just wasn't ready. And we are really dealing with a generation of kids right now who are embodying a lot of those pieces due to their experience growing up during a pandemic. And so what are you seeing in your classrooms right now that you maybe have to veer away from your curricula a little bit and say, these kids need us to show up differently because they're just not regulated?
Yes, I'm definitely seeing that. I'm seeing a lot of speech. Like a lot of kids are just a little bit more behind, but that word behind, like everybody develops just as they are. So I'm not even like that. So yeah, we're just seeing a little bit more, which I think goes back to the core of love. love, kindness, and grace. And yes, we have a schedule. Yes, we have curriculum, but our curriculum involves everything, right? So if that's great for one child and one child doesn't like that, there's 3 or 4 more different fun things they get to do. Outside play is super important. I think it's just educators now really need to have a lot more patience. And I think we need to throw out the idea of there's just so much pressure. I see it with parents coming in with their children. They're already thinking about college. And I'm thinking, like, these are the most amazing moments. Like, we need to let these kids be just who they are and accept them for who they are. And I am a firm believer on positive teaching and loving as your base, because they're going to flourish. If you're a no teacher, if you want to fit them in a box kind of teacher, that it does not serve them well. And I feel like their stress level, I think a lot of parents are stressed, and that trickles down with our kids. So I just think for us, we haven't really changed a lot of our curriculum, but again, it goes back to my team. My team is extraordinary, and I only will have people that love. Love is the first thing, period. And I think in 23 years I've had my schools, I think we've only let go of like 5 kids along the way, because every child is loved, and those are only in incidences where other kids may be in danger or something, but it's such a rare thing. So yeah.
What a beautiful testimony to the idea that when we meet kids where they are, which is something we say all the time, but what I mean by that is kids are emoters. They are energy. They experience the world through feeling. And we as adults very often try to meet them in the logic world because that's where we live. But when we meet them, like it sounds like in your schools, it's just that emote space. Okay, let's all be good in this space together. And then organically, their cognition opens and they just start to learn all the things that they need. So pretty recently, I had a kindergarten teacher on the show, and I asked her this question. I want to ask it to you too. What does preschool readiness mean to you that parents might not understand, because preschool readiness to them means knowing ABC's 1, 2, 3's colors and numbers? What does it mean to you when you meet a child the first time and you're like, oh, this kid's going to fit in just fine?
Yeah, I think kindergarten readiness is really socially and emotionally, yes, a little bit of academics, but I feel like academics will come. But it's really, are they comfortable with school? Are they confident to raise their hand? Can they sit in circle time? Can they share their toys? Can they get along with their friends? Is there speech there? But mostly to me, it's emotionally. Like, are they emotionally ready and confident, or are they going to be swallowed up in a classroom and kind of be invisible? Because I want my kids to leave really confident in themselves, putting their jackets on by themselves, just little things like that. It's the social and emotional to me that is way more important. And as an educator for a long time, it's something I struggle with because I'm a huge play-based. But we also have to understand we do have to prep them with the academics as well, trying to trace, write their name, things like that, because we don't want them. Things have changed so much in the kindergarten world. So, but I would say really it's emotionally and socially. And if your child is at a school, hopefully, like, we do parent conferences, we do evaluations, which the kids don't really know what they're doing. They're playing a game, but we will be honest and we will let parents know, like, maybe they need another year, but it's really the confidence, because you don't want your child to get lost in the classroom.
Different voice, exact same answer. Yeah, because really? That's the truth. Yes. And as educators, we all know that because we can see big picture. And I always tell parents, you're doing what you were told to do. Like, the world has said to you, this is how you get your child ready to be successful in school. And now you and I and Ziba and all the other educators in the world are saying it's time to tell you a different message.
I agree with you 100%. I almost got like a little bit of chills, because for too long, people a long time ago created a box for our children. And if our children do not fit into that box, they feel like a failure. We feel like a failure sometimes. And that is so unfair. And I've seen this with my daughter, especially. We've really worked through this, and she's going to be graduating this year. And we've switched her schooling completely to, I think there's 22 kids in her school at the moment. And it's been heartbreaking. We need to break the box. We need to shatter the box. We truly do, because the amount of stress, and if you have little ones right now, it's going to go fast. It goes so fast. They're going to be in high school, and you want to catch their stress, their emotional anxiety now. You want them to feel successful now in their education, because if they don't, it will catch up to them, and they're always going to feel like that through their whole education experience. And it's okay to homeschool. It's okay to switch up schools. It's okay to be outside all day long. I mean, our kids should be getting messy. They should be gardening. They should have animals. Like, we need to shatter the box. I've seen it firsthand in my own family and my own two children. And, it really bothers me. I can go on and on about that box because they're not failures. Everybody learns so different, and we need to meet every child how they learn and where they are. And the traditional schooling, public school, is not set up that way. And I'll tell you now, even my own kids, because my oldest is 23. I have 3 boys and my daughter, and they, all of them want big families, which I think is amazing. So hopefully I'll have a lot of grandkids one day. All of my kids are talking about homeschooling. They don't want to put their kids in traditional school. And I'm like, that's great. They want like big farms and animals. So maybe it's working. I think there's going to be a shift.
There is a shift, and it's happening. And I've been interviewing people who are building those new infrastructures, actually, that are hybrid models or entirely online, and you could be nomadic and XYZ. And my gosh, the parallels just continue, Amber. We ran a commercial farm for 10 years with all the animals and vegetable CSA and the whole nine. And my daughter, so I'll share this with you because it resonates with me so deeply what you're saying. Our youngest, Caroline, was diagnosed with audio processing disorder when she was 7. And we live in a tiny town with a tiny school in rural Vermont. So K through 6, she had her needs met. And I, being a teacher, was 100% able to advocate for her in those small settings with this one teacher, great, at a time. Then it was time to move from that 6th grade safe space. She'd been there K through 6 to the middle school. And my husband looked at me and he said, it's not going to work. And I said, I know it's not going to work. And he's like, well, what are we going to do about it? This is where I believe in collaborative parenting so much. And I said, well, we'll do our research about what else is available, but right now we're not going to do anything. We need to let her try. But she needs to be a kid who has developed a love of learning, which is what you're talking about in those early years. Develop that. Learning is fun. Learning is exciting. I get all the good feelings when I do it and I'm successful. Now she's slightly older and she needed to try the hard thing to see what was going to happen. It didn't work, but she was the one that came to us and said, this isn't working. What else can we do? So she self-advocated. Then we advocated for her, found the exact right private school where she graduated last year, moved to Japan.
Love that.
And she's studying Japanese so that she can, and I literally have this in writing in her application, open a Montessori style nature-based play center for kids in Japan and teach them English.
That's so amazing. I love it. Are you just so proud?
So proud.
Well, it is also really when they get to make those calls themselves and they recognize what their needs are. That's beautiful. Congratulations to her. I think that's just amazing.
It is. But, I go back and I listen to myself tell that story and I realize we could have completely derailed her future.
Right.
If we had said, this is the option, this is free, it's paid for by the town, you've just got to suffer through, we would have completely derailed how she learned, any love of learning she had. I don't know that she would have ended up in college, and we would have had a very different set of teenage years.
Exactly. But I'm so glad you listened, and as parents, that is our role. We have to listen. And you said it at the beginning, it's our kids' journey. It is not our journey, and I think we just have to constantly remind ourselves of that. It's their path, their needs, not this idea of what we think their future should be. Just like all of us had to walk our own path, right? To get to this moment in time, we had our own journey. We have to recognize that is for our children as well.
Oh my gosh. This is why I love podcasting so much, meeting really inspiring people who are doing this work as well. Well, can you share with everybody, first of all, where are you? Because if someone actually lives near you, I know they're coming to check out your school. And then tell us about the book.
Okay. I am in California. Loving Start Learning Centers are in California, Northern California. I am going nationwide, though. I'm really excited. I'm about to finish franchising. I don't like the word franchise because I'm really breaking out of that box. But we're going to have a home version too. So if you want to open up your home, we're going to have different versions because I want high quality care to be accessible for everybody. And we need more of it. And we need more people with passion that want to teach. But yeah, I just wrote a book, The ABCs of Preschool, basically everything I've learned in the industry, all my failures, all my successes. It's basically a blueprint for someone to read and open up their home. You can do a home preschool, you can do a commercial building, whatever it is, it's all there for you. Marketing, everything from like finding your team. And then you can find me at thelovingstartway.com. I have a podcast as well. I'd love to have you on. But yeah, thelovingstartway.com is all about me. And thank you for having me on.
Oh, this has just been delightful. I would love to be on your show. And who knows, maybe I can be a director of one of your programs someday.
Yeah,
what a wonderful.
Awesome. Yeah. You never know the future. Yeah.
We never do.
No.
Oh, wow. All right. Well, thank you so much for everything that you're doing. You are solving a problem that we need to solve it right now. So parents, go check it out. Go listen to the podcast. And if you are thinking of making a transition and supporting your children along the way, then Amber is your girl. Until our next episode, for all of you, moms, dads, caregivers, nannies, foster parents, and grandparents, stay mindful and proactive as we transform the toddler years.